Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of Tea Time with Tom. I am here with Mike Channel of Outside Xbox. Hello, Mike.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm very well. I'm very nervous
I like
right
your
now.
hat and your t-shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, the t-shirt is great.
You're fully branded up. I feel like I'm letting the side down. I've got a Snowboard Kids t-shirt on.
You were very kind enough to answer Twitter to say, like, if I was ever going to interview somebody, I mentioned either George Harrison or Mike Channel, and you responded straight away.
I don't think it's going to be George. I hate to tell you, but I don't think George is available, unfortunately. So I guess I have to step in.
I really appreciate this.
That's
also,
right.
you and George...
Thanks for your support as well. Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
anytime.
like I appreciate it. You know, you're clearly an active member of the Outside Xbox viewership, and we really appreciate your support.
Oh, thank you.
It's the least I could do.
Oh, bless you. Actually, speaking of Outside Xbox, today I believe is 10-year anniversary of when you guys set up.
Yeah, it's sort of weird to think there's been a decade, really, to be honest. I think when we set up Outside Xbox, none of us really knew if it was going to be a success. None of us knew if it would last longer than sort of a year, basically. I think that's what we sort of gave it to be successful. And I think at the time, you know, we were worried that we were a little late to YouTube. And I think anyone starting a YouTube channel, even now, probably feels like they're sort of late to YouTube and all the kind of the good stuff has already happened. But we were worried about that even back in 2012. And so we sort of started off and we were like, you know, are we going to be able to build a successful YouTube channel? And the metric of success has gone ballistic. You know, like previously a successful YouTube channel was like 3 million subscribers or something, and now a successful YouTube channel is 100 million subscribers. So, but within that, we've managed to sort of find our sort of niche and do our thing, and it's kept us going for sort of 10 years, which is brilliant because it's far better than a normal job, certainly. And we still love, you know, making videos and doing fun things, and we've sort of added strings to our bow in terms of, like, you know, that sounds like I'm making a pun, but, you know, Oxventure, for example, as something like totally different to do. So yeah, we're keeping ourselves interested, and yeah, I think we're all sort of committed to Outside Xbox. We're really proud of what we've built, and, you know, in particular the sort of fan base that we've attracted is full of great people.
Oh, yeah.
And so yeah, you know, it's something we're enormously proud of, and long may it continue. But I definitely thought by now I'd have had to get a proper job.
Yes. Well, speaking of jobs, I did have a few questions about your career that I wanted to pick your brain about, if that's okay. So, like, you already mentioned how you didn't realize that it would take off with such success outside Xbox. I was always quite curious as to how you got snowed into that.
Yeah, so Outside Xbox was born out of the fact that Microsoft closed Inside Xbox, which was the service that Andy was working for at the time. And Jane and I had both created content for that service, which was a sort of online, on-console video thing, basically, that Microsoft was running. It was official. It was, you know, I think within that official sort of content, Andy and Dan, who was working with at the time, were able to kind of carve out their own little sort of fun corner of the sort of video offering that didn't really exist in the States, I don't think. You know, there's kind of Major Nelson, which is a bit more played with a straight bat and stuff like that. So it was really well loved in the UK and super popular. And when they shut it down, it was, you know, it was a real shame. And Andy was sort of out of a job, and with that in mind, you know, we kind of knew that YouTube was getting big and it was a big deal, or it had gotten big, and we had all this video experience, and so the idea was to try and do what we done there but on YouTube. So, you know, we sort of got together and tried to sort of replicate quite directly what we were doing over there. So kind of game previews and, you know, the odd interview and a kind of weekly show and stuff like that. But obviously, as time has evolved, you know, or as the channel's evolved over time, we've ended up doing sort of like list features and things because they're just enormously popular. People love that kind of format, and it allows us to write stupid jokes about video games. So that's kind of where we've gotten to. But at the time, you know, when Outside Xbox was set up, I was still working at the official Xbox magazine in the UK, so I was like the deputy editor of that. And,
yes.
You know, it was a kind of comfortable job at the time. You know, it was the biggest gaming magazine at the time in the UK, and that was a great place to be. But I kind of knew that magazines were sort of on the downward sort of trajectory, and YouTube was on the upward trajectory. So while it felt like a risk to just, you know, literally set up a YouTube channel with no subscribers and hope it would work, I also kind of knew that it was a risk to stay in magazines as well, you know, and I'd probably have to, you know, make a leap at some point. So that was my sort of thing. And I think actually probably it was a bigger risk for Jane, because she was working at GameSpot, and obviously GameSpot is a hugely established online thing. You know, that GameSpot wasn't going anywhere, so you know, it was more of a risk for her really to sacrifice that stuff. But you know, we all believed in it, and we believed in each other's sort of ability to make videos. So and we had great chemistry. You know, we were friends previously, so we met each other at video game events and stuff, and ended up socializing a lot and getting on really well. So it all sort of made sense at the time, and there was a bit of alchemy that I think has served us pretty well, really, that sort of chemistry and that you know, similar interests and things like that.
I hope that this goes on for another decade, maybe another 2 decades, maybe not a century, but definitely another decade. I'd love to see it, unless
if they can keep my body alive, I'll still make some videos.
So with Outside Xbox, it's definitely given a lot of people a lot of comforts over the years. Like, I see it all the time in your comments, how people are saying like you've, you know, helped people get through a dark place, which is an unbelievable achievement, and you should be very proud of that. But I'm always curious, like, what is your comforts watch? Like, what brings you, like, cheers you up and brings you those creative strings in making your videos?
I don't. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think creating stuff is a comfort as well. I think that, you know, obviously we are really happy to help people, and you know, and that's hugely like gratifying when we get those messages that, you know, where people say, you know, I'm going through a tough time, but you know, it's these videos have helped. It's great because it reminds you that, you know, aside from the numbers, and you know, it's easy to get kind of tied up in kind of metrics and, you know, how videos are doing in terms of views and things like that. But it's a nice reminder that, you know, for every one of those views, there is this person sitting, you know, behind or next to a screen, you know, watching the video and hopefully connecting with it in some way. So yeah, I find comfort in that. And then yeah, I think my comfort food in terms of viewing isn't really. It's more the motorsport stuff that I don't want to bore on about cars, but that's my kind of what I like. You know, I could have directed my career into kind of motorsport and motorsport journalism and things like that, and I did sort of explore some of those avenues. But I kind of like that I have motorsport as this sort of thing that is totally unrelated to anything. Well, not anything that I do, because I do play racing games and review them, but I like that I can watch a motor race and not feel like I'm having to work. I can just sit back and, you know, watch some cars go around in circles and stuff. So that's my comfort food in terms of viewing. But you know, fiction wise, I do love sci-fi. You know, I love bad films, bad horror films in particular, that sort of thing. So yeah, lots of stuff.
You say that you're not connected to motorsports. You are working for Top Gear though.
Yeah, that is, and you know what, that's fun, and I think the main reason I do that is to, well, obviously Top Gear is a very sort of prestigious brand. You know, like I grew up watching Top Gear as a kid. I'm sure you did as well, because pretty much the entire nation did for a period in the sort of early 2000s. But you know, so it's kind of cool to write for Top Gear, right? It's a fun thing to write for. But also, you know, my background is in writing for magazines, and script writing is a very different discipline, and it's a discipline we had to learn, you know, when we were making Outside Xbox. I think we've improved as sort of video writers and script writers over the course of the last 10 years. I think Andy was always pretty strong at that stuff. You know, he was very good even in the Inside Xbox days. But I think definitely myself and I think probably Jane would agree, is, you know, I think we've all gotten really, really good at writing like a quite snappy, quite funny sort of script for a list video. But this Top Gear stuff allows me to kind of keep my eye on for sort of a different type of writing, you know, different style. You know, I still like that kind of written prose, and I would say my writing style for Top Gear is somewhat informed by video stuff, because when you're writing a video script, you really need to think about how you would speak. Basically, you're writing to make jokes, you know, with your voice, right? And you write this amazing script that's full of great detail and has some funny jokes that work in writing, but if you can't say it, it's not a good video script, right? So I do think that some of my writing for Top Gear and the jokes I make are kind of slightly informed by that kind of casual voice. But yeah, it's still very much like I like to write for a website and a magazine just to remind myself that I can do it, basically. So.
Oh, that's brilliant.